All righty. I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order. If I get a roll call, please.
Chair Galib,
Here.
Councillor Bragdon,
Here.
Councillor Danforth. Here. Councillor Madore,
Here.
Councillor McEwen,
Here.
Councillor Pelletier,
Here.
Councillor Prey.
Excused. And with that, if you can all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? No adjustments? And seeking approval of the minutes of April 28th, 2022 regular meeting and April 28th, 2022 and May 5th, 2022 executive sessions.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Madore, seconded by Councilor McEwen. All those in favor, Councilor Pelletier.
I'd like to have an amendment to the minutes, the discussion on order 85-2022. Councilor Madore did not make the motion for the amendment of that order. It was Councilor Pelletier.
Thank you, Councilor Pelletier. With that amendment, all those in favor, Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Madore,
Aye.
Chair Galib, aye, Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth.
Aye.
And with that, we have some special presentations. Robert Foster to discuss the Little Italy Playground. Is he joining in on Zoom? Are you with us there, Robert?
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you for coming to speak
Thank
to
you.
us. I'll just hand it over to you if that's all right.
All right. Let me see. All right, there we go. So I had an idea that I was going to go down to the Little Italy Park with some of my friends, and we were going to do a little bit of a cleanup. And after we had done a little bit of looking around, I had noticed there was some bigger issues that needed to be addressed in the park. So one of the issues is the basketball hoops. When you are to shoot the ball or even touch the pole, the backboard, or anything, it seems very unstable. There are little pieces on the rim that are supposed to hold the net off. A lot of those have been broken off and they have been zip tied on, but the zip ties are cut at an angle, and multiple people have popped basketballs on them, and the backboards are completely rusted, and there is no square on the backboard. There's almost no paint left. And that is it for the basketball area. The tar seems to be really nice, and the paint on the tar seems to be really nice. These are some of the closer up pictures that I could get with the nets being zip tied on and the rust on the backboard. And the next part of the park is the children's slide. It is not the multi-use, but is just the single children's slide. On the right side, on the handrail, there is a gash in the metal that is sharp on both sides. And I'm not sure how it could be fixed or if the whole slide needed to be replaced, but someone that I do know had cut their hand on it. So I'm not sure if it should be taped off until looked at further or fixed, or just replaced or anything. But I had noticed that when I was trying to look at some of the children's stuff. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the fence around the area. There are a lot of poles that are sticking out that do not have caps on the end of them, and the pole is a little sharp, and one of them is at the entrance to the basketball court that is just sticking out. And some of the fence is not attached to the poles as well. Some is attached with zip ties, and some of it is still attached pretty fine. And with the pictures I had taken, these are the poles that are uncapped. The fence on the right picture is not attached to anything, and this pole is no longer attached to the fence as well. And so I looked up some of the pricing for some of the stuff. I had looked up that it shouldn't cost more than $800 to replace the slide altogether and get a brand new slide for the children. With the basketball hoops, there are really nice regulation outdoor basketball hoops that were on sale at I think LL Bean and Dick's Sporting Goods, and they were about $1,500 per, but I believe it would cost a lot less to fix it. Not sure how we would fix the stability of the backboard and the basketball hoop altogether. And the fencing, I had looked into it a little bit, and it seems a lot of parks are doing industrial aluminum now, and it is very stable, very sturdy. It lasts quite a while. So I looked into around how much square footage would be, how much we would need with the fencing, and it would cost anywhere from about $4,000 to $8,000, depending on what type of the industrial aluminum is bought. And I am not sure how much it would cost to fix the current fence, because I am not sure what type of fence it is. And I believe that is about the end of the presentation that I had.
Well, Robert, I first want to just thank you for taking this time as a member of the public to walk through a park and take pictures and look up all the pricing on everything and bring this to our attention as a council.
Yep.
I'll bring this to the rest of the council after first mentioning, I believe that we already have budgeted for fencing for that
Okay.
park. So that portion of it should be covered, and I'm going to turn it over to the manager just to confirm that.
Yes, I can confirm we have $12,000 built into the budget to replace the entirety of that fence.
That is awesome.
But again, thank you, Robert. I'm going to turn it to the council to respond or ask questions, and then to the public after, if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Robert Foster, for going over there and doing that as the chairman had stated. My main concern is that large gash of metal. And I could see both the public works director and the health and safety officer taking notes during your presentation about those issues as you were bringing them up. So just in case you couldn't see that, that was noted.
Okay.
And is definitely a concern. So thank you very much. And we'll do all that we can to take care of this.
All right.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen. Any other council comment? Councilor Madore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Foster, have you reached out to the our recreation director to try to coordinate efforts, especially as it pertains to replacing the backboards and the playground equipment itself over in Little Italy is in dire need of replacing the swings, everything, or they're metal, they've been painted enough times so that the corrosion is coming through every time. So have you had any opportunity to coordinate or have a discussion with the rec director?
I have not yet.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond to Mr. Madore.
Well, I think he's still talking, so.
Yeah, I would encourage you to reach out to our rec director and have her just give your ideas and thoughts and observations and see what plans. I mean, obviously the fence is going to be replaced. You didn't know that. And what other things may be in the offering or things that could be worked together for this playground. I appreciate and I applaud your interest in it. I just would like to see a coordinated effort with our rec director. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Did you have any response to that, Robert?
I was not I was not personally aware that I had to speak to anyone else, so I will take that into account and speak to the rec director as soon as possible.
Well, I mean, you did come to the right place, and I
Yep.
want to thank you for that. I think our
Mhm.
manager can very easily make a connection to the rec director, or even be a conduit from her to you. And just again, want to reiterate the fact that you came to us after all this work on your end. So I don't think asking more of you is really appropriate. I think our manager will happily assist you with this issue. Counselor Bragdon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robbie reached out to me about a month and a half ago with this concern. And I wanted it to come up to the council because we were obviously getting ready to go into budget talks. So I thought it'd be advantageous of him to present to us while we were doing the budget. That way, if we had any money we could use for this, we could adjust it then. That's why I didn't push him to the rec director, because I knew there was going to be money that was needed to be expended, and I directed him here instead. So that was on me, not him.
Councilor Madore?
Well, I appreciate that. This is why we set up a capital improvement budget for recreation. Only a few years ago, recreation did not have capital improvement plan, 5-year plan. So certainly having the discussion with the rec director, I believe, is the way to go with this, because some of this stuff may fall under or part of a longer or further reaching discussion as far as a capital improvement plan for that playground or that area. And I think that needs to be done because it's part of what the council already does as far as the budget for that capital improvement plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Any other council comment? Seeing none, does anyone from the public have any comments? Randy? Name and address, please. You know the routine.
Randy Jackson, 106 Knox Street. The rec director's name is Jody Nelson. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Any other public comment? Do we have one in chat by chance?
There it is. Susan D'Alessandro says, I was wondering what the presenter thought about drainage system that was in the park.
Robert, were you able to hear that or read it?
Yes. I feel that the drainage system in the park, as I have seen, is fine at the moment, I believe. I have not noticed anything out of the ordinary with it. But to add on as well, I had noticed that, I'm not sure how recently, but a few things had been added down there to, I guess, make it easier for the public to recycle and throw things away, which I was going to add into the presentation as well. I just wanted to mention right now that I had seen that there is a recycle and trash down there as well, which is awesome. But I do think that the drainage is fine at the moment. I haven't been down there enough to really notice, I guess, but I think that it is fine.
Thank you, Robert. Was there a follow-up on the comment?
Susan D'Alessandro asks, does anyone know what it drains? I can't answer that question. It's actually a very elaborate landscaping system over there that is in place in case that main pump station were to fail. And if the sewer system were to rise through the basement of that main pump station for our wastewater system, the overflow would come out of that building. And, if you look closer to the wastewater pump station on the other side of that fence, there's actually some angles and trenches built into the ground itself that directs the overflow into that drainage and then across into the river.
Thank you for that.
I did just learn
You
about
did
that
your
a few
homework
weeks
on that.
ago on my wastewater tour. So I'm glad I had that to be able to answer the question.
Well, A+ right there. Any other public comment on the presentation? And seeing none, just again, Robert, want to just recognize what you've done and appreciate you for that. And our manager will be in touch with you on basically next steps.
Awesome. It was my pleasure, I guess, going down. I really like helping the kids, having a park they'd be able to go out and hang out at. I had stated in the beginning that it's the closest park to the elementary school without it being an actual school park. So I think it would be a nice area for people to go. I see a lot of people going down with their dogs, and I think it would be a nice area if fixed up.
Well, thank you. And with that, we will move to resolve number 1, 2022. Councilor McEwen, if I could have you read that, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, resolve number 1-2022, a proclamation in recognition of the value of community engagement with arts, culture, and heritage. Whereas community engagement within arts, culture, and heritage is known to support youth education and enrichment, community expression, tourism and economic development, health and wellness, and generally to add value to the quality of civic and economic conditions. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Millinocket Town Council and Council assembled May 12, 2022, and affirms the value of community engagement within the artistic, cultural, and heritage aspects of Millinocket and the region, and that the council encourages citizens to strengthen creative and cultural bonds through community discussions, events, and planning.
Second.
Motion by Councilor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Madore. Discussion of the council. Councilor Madore.
Is the purpose of the resolve to, is it something that would enable our programs and the like to, is it more favorable for grants if the town assumes this posture for grants going forward for the arts?
Randy, you're more than welcome to speak to this as you've been involved in it. And I can add whatever you'd like as well.
Randy Jackson, 106 Knox Street. Yes, it will help in the obtaining of funds for the arts and culture. And I would also suggest that it would be inserted into our long-range town planning. What's the name of that? The what? I'm sorry, the comprehensive plan. How can I forget? I forgot. Yeah, the comprehensive plan. And with that, it can be used as evidence of what the town would like to push forward. I can give you a little aside on arts and culture. Soon we'll be having a bare bones program at the Royal Theater, which I am involved with. And I couldn't send out invitations because there were so many people that I'd like to invite. And if I left somebody out, I would be embarrassed. And anyway, it went like this. I had people send in postcards, and I got a lot of postcards. It was truly amazing. And I got postcards from 3 states and all over the state of Maine. So it just picked out 40, and it'll be a 48, I think. And it'll be a rather eclectic group that shows up. I got a call from a woman, and she said, "Mr. Jackson, I only received one postcard." And I said, "I know you put down for 2. She said, "Yes, I wanted to be sure that my driver could see the show also." So who knows what, coming to town and who's coming to town, but it'll be an interesting event. So culture, it's part of our, it's part of our life. It enters into us every day. Every time you turn on the radio, there's culture, your TV. It's a phenomenal part of our life. And bringing a live theater to Millinocket will be very beneficial, I'm sure. It can be used for so many different things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Randy. Well said. Any other council comment on the resolve? I'll just say I agree with everything you said, Randy. I think taking this kind of statement as a council recognizes the importance of what you just mentioned and also assists in future fundraising. So definitely all for it. Any comment from the public? Seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Chair Goliath, aye, Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Craig.
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Not Friday yet. And with that, that brings us to our first public hearing on ordinance number 1/2022. Counselor Danforth, if I could have you read that, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, ordinance number 1/2022, providing for an amendment to chapter 97, peddling and soliciting, section 97-6 of the code of the town of Millinocket. It is ordained by the town council of Millinocket that the peddling and soliciting ordinance, chapter 97, section 97-6, fees of the Millinocket code is amended by repealing A, for a 3-day license, $5, B, for a 90-day license, $15, and replacing A, for an annual license, $15, to be valid only within the calendar year in which it was purchased. It is further ordained that the town clerk make appropriate changes to incorporate this article into the Millinocket Code and distribute new pages to all persons known to have a copy of the code.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Danforth, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. I'll just say that this came from recommendation of our fire chief in our subcommittee, where basically there was a lot of confusion over people getting different periods of licenses throughout the year, having to follow up on all of that. This basically streamlines it so that there's only one license. It is for the whole year, very similar to a permit to the transfer site. It is good only for that calendar year. $15 obviously is a very low threshold that we all agreed would be a fair price. And that's about that. Any other comment from the council? Councilor Madore?
Does this, or do we have anything in, may have to refresh my memory, that specifies where any solicitation or peddling can take place? I mean, other than Peddler's Hill, is there anything specific as far as location is concerned that equates to this license?
I believe it's just soliciting in the town, and on the license, it's specified where. Right now, we have the designated area as the Hill. There has been soliciting, peddling at Hills Park when that was available for vendors. And also at Veterans Park, I believe, when we had events going on there, but that hasn't happened in a while, so. I don't know if it specifically says just Peddler's Hill, but it definitely refers to peddling within the town, which I have a portion of the charter with, but it's state about that.
Chief Malcolm, do you have any insight on that?
Malcolm, Mike, from what I've always told is the only place that they were allowed to have was on Peddler's Hill, unless we had an event at down at the park, or at Randall Park, place. Because we've had people who want to put at the school, like Granite. It's nothing actually in it that says, yeah. And I know some people, when they fill out the form, they fill out Peddler's Hill. And we brought that to council before, about set up like downtown. If that's any help to you.
Please.
I'd like to get this, I mean, I don't really think it's probably that big a deal right now because we don't have a lot of people at Peddler's Hill or in the downtown area unless it's an event. But I think there should be some, if we're making this a one-time for the year, type of license. I think where they can go and what they, where they can set up should be put in the license as far as only peddler sale or only, in the park, and there can be exceptions, but I worry more about somebody going ahead and trying to say, well, I bought a 1 year permit to go ahead and do this. Didn't specify where, so I'm setting up over here and then I'm moving over there. And I'd rather see some specific language as far as location is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Diana?
I believe it is in the code, backed by the charter, that license is approved and only approved at the clerk's office. And that's why it would be hard for this to go online, because it does have to be pre-approved before the peddler themselves gets permissions to license, get the license to actually have. So I think it is covered by the clerk's permissions by granting the license at that time when the license is purchased.
Thank you, Diana. Councilor Craig?
My concern, I guess I kind of agree a little bit with Rayleigh, with Councilor Madore. May I suggest that, for example, that we have some type of language that just says it's in the commercial zones as approved by the town. I like to keep them out of residential areas. I think we should keep them out of schools. You could have language that would say, unless specifically approved for a special event. Because we wouldn't want somebody to go up and set up outside a high school football game when boosters are selling refreshments inside, that type of thing. So I would think we probably should just add a sentence or two to this. And I think we can amend it at the next meeting and kind of work on it. But I'm willing to work with Councilor Madore to try to come up with something instead of holding this off. This is the fee system, basically. And I don't think you'll have somebody coming in the next 2 weeks. But by the time they do and what time we approve it, we'll have that language. Is that kind of what you're thinking about?
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Councilor McEwen?
My only suggestion, kind of off of your commercial zone suggestion, is that I think it might be, commercial zone can still imply quite a bit of space. But if we're really only talking about really ever wanting to see people at Peddler's Hill or Veterans Memorial Park, at Colonel Crandall's Park, it could be literally this permit applies for these locations unless otherwise prescribed by the council. And then that way, it's literally eliminating every other geographical space aside from the little lemonade stand on someone's sidewalk, but you know what I'm saying.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen. Any other?
No, that's what I'm saying, Councilor Cray, is that, this should eliminate all those other hassles or issues that have been brought up in the past, aside from, of course, the little one setting up a little lemonade stand of some sort. I think we can all agree that that's okay.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen. Any other council comment? Seeing none, out of the public. Randy Jackson?
Randy Jackson, 106 Knox Street, Millinocket. So with that language, I like, or as directed by the council, as we probably will have vendor space at the Millinocket Heritage Park coming soon. So if you leave that language in, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Chief Malcolm?
Health officer, let's say that fast. Let's not complicate this, please. I think that the way it works right now, Diana has a question, she called me. I think we just leave it, when they come in to get their permit, they ask, where they want to be.
access. That will be coming out of their own. That's not us. We wouldn't handle that. It's all their town. Right. Town property. Simpler it is, easier. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Diana?
Agree. We confirm the permit, in the office when it's purchased for the location that's stated, and we tell them Peddler's Hill. And that's pretty much where they're able to, unless if we inform them that Veterans Park, or 4th of July, or whatever available space. So that is literally their only option is Peddler's Hill at this moment. That is approved.
Thank you, Diana. Any other public comment? Seeing none, that concludes our first reading. And with that, that moves us to the town manager's report.
So you wanted to vote?
Oh, there's only one reading for this one. Okay. Yep. All right. Well, then back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Prey,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Gully, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
Passes 7-0. And thank you, Diana. And with that, moving it to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As usual, my report has been submitted and available for a few days now. I hope everyone had a chance to review it. I will read through a majority of it this week. Regarding the CDBG Veterans Park project that has been in the works for quite some time. We did have the pre-construction meeting for that project this past Friday. We were joined by our project management engineer from Haley Ward, who is a local boy, Mr. Jared Mary. Representatives from the Underwood Electric Company, our community initiatives director, Amber Wheaton, and the DECD, CDBG representation from the state, Ms. Terry Ann Holden. We went over the timeline for that project. The beginning of the work should happen on the 23rd of this month, and it is expected to wrap up on June 20th. The only variable at this point is the availability of new electrical panel to be installed. The contractor is unsure of the lead time on when that is going to be available. However, if it is not looking like it will be here before the 4th of July, they have agreed to put in a temporary panel that will handle our 4th of July festivities with the rest of the project, and then come back and replace that with a permanent panel shortly after. The construction company will have some equipment, a trailer, some materials, and the other, vehicles parked in that in the parking spaces by the gazebo on Cotton Avenue side towards the grass area. Those will be occupied by them for the duration of that project. It really is a good opportunity to bolster the community events, offering more access to power and thus more access to more vendors. And it also includes some uplighting on our memorial at the top of the park to really put some recognition on that, honoring our veterans from local community. I recently spoke with Mr. David Sear, not Joe Sear, as it states in my original draft of this report. I apologize to David Sear for mixing up the name there. That is from the Cat TV Board of Directors. It's been a topic of conversation within the council for the entirety of my employment so far. So I wanted to provide an update there. We did meet, we did discuss their funding situation. They do receive in a normal year, they receive two $5,000 payments throughout the year, which become, town acts as a pass-through for those costs. They have not received those payments in quite some time and have been unable to complete their side of the upgrade for that project from analog to digital. So he did bring to me that in the past, the municipality has needed to take part in those discussions on behalf of the CAT TV Board of Directors. So I've agreed to work with them to communicate those needs and to seek additional funding. Currently, with the amount of money they are allocated from Beeline, they are only able to operate that channel 10 out of 12 months. So we will be trying to seek some additional funding to operate the entirety of the year and upgrade some of the equipment so that they can do that more easily. Mr. Seer did share that they would be interested in participation from new board members. If there's anybody interested in helping to direct that organization. He spoke about a great desire, but a possible lack of energy or availability. And they would certainly like to promote the service and add to the programming. They had some more people involved once we get this situated. Councilor Pelletier did send me the agreement between the town of Millinocket and Beeline Cable. Recently, I have not had the opportunity to thoroughly digest that information, but I plan to do that as I am still waiting on more information from Mr. Seer regarding the communication plan back and forth with Beeline Cable. Regarding the Iron Bridge Road culvert bridge replacement project, we did receive some updated estimates on this project from Mandy Oliver at Oliver Associates. As you can imagine, the total cost of that has risen from the original estimate, which was done in 2020. The estimate had gone from $275,000 to $345,000. We do have $25,000 built in as contingency and the grant program, the grant funding from the state of Maine. It's a Streams grant program. We do have that for $125,000. So the town's contribution has grown from around $150,000 to $220,000. And my suggestion to make up that difference is to allocate $150,000 of ARPA funding that we had discussed in budget in the ARPA workshops to that project. That will alleviate our FY23 municipal budget substantially, making the decrease on the taxpayers of the community down to $70,000. They do need to get that bridge project surveyed and planned out to be put out to bid as soon as possible. The deadline, the lingering deadline that is above us is regarding the expiration date on the grant funding that we've already been promised from the state of Maine. I believe that is March of 23 when that expires. So there is an order later on this evening, so happy to discuss that more at that time. I did take a tour of the Public Works operation with our Public Works Director, Ralph, recently, keeping in continuing the deeper dives of town departments that I had started with wastewater recently. He was able to give me a tour of the garage facility, very detailed tour. We walked the property, we spoke about the facility, learned about the equipment and all the expected future needs coming down the pike. We also drove around the town. Ralph pointed out to me the many projects that he and his crew work on thoroughly throughout the year, from plowing 41 miles of roads within our community to mowing, flushing sewer lines and all of the various paving, painting, mechanical work, etc. I had a very real admiration for that crew beforehand, but being able to spend that time with our director and see the scope of work, as narrated by him, and understanding such a small staff crew that we have in the Public Works Department, that was very eye-opening that they're able to do such incredible work with so few people. And the other very positive part of that was that Ralph spoke so highly of his crew the entire time, going above and beyond, and the excellent quality of their work. You could tell that he is very proud of that crew, and I wanted that to be recognized. There was recent discussion, in the events committee, and at the request of that committee, I am seeking discussion on pursuing potluck or barbecue as an informal way for community members to interact with counselors. In that committee, the discussion was about hosting possibly outside in the GNP Park between the municipal building and the Boreal Theater. Or, another option is inside the halls of the municipal building. I do agree with the discussion in that committee. I think it's a great atmosphere to mingle and hear from the community members without the staunch, often intimidating atmosphere of a council meeting. I did add a couple of pieces in here that I wanted to expand on a little bit before we move on. With the tax acquired properties, we have recently discussed within the council and sustainability committees, reviewing that process of how those are released and awarded. I would like to suggest that conversation take place sooner or later, and that we do have a solid plan in the near future. We do have at least one property that has been waiting to be released, as well as another that is expected in the next 30 to 60 days or so. Looking at the FY22 budget, we are not favorable in the revenues for that area. And I think that moving forward, that can lessen the impact of and help us be more favorable in that area. I wanted to also share a message about code enforcement and permitting. And I wanted to do this as an educational item to the community. We are diving into the season of property repair and improvement projects. Town of Millinocket, we as citizens need to abide by building codes as well as electrical and plumbing codes. Permitting is necessary for many projects, from building a garage or an addition to putting up a fence, demolition of a structure, even keeping livestock, like chickens, for example. There are small fees associated with these permits, and they do keep us in compliance with the law. The last thing we want for myself or our code enforcement officer is to have to approach a property owner and inform them that they have to tear down either an unpermitted structure. that they have invested so much of their, hard-earned money into. When realistically, if that community member had checked out the Millinocket code or had a brief discussion with our code enforcement officer, they would be more knowledgeable on the necessary permitting for that project and whether or not it's even allowed in the long run. We are more than happy to help with any of these questions, and we want to make sure that people know they can reach out to our code enforcement officer, Evan Campbell, here at the town office. We also have all the information on the permit applications, as well as links to downloadable forms of the permit applications on millinocket.org under the code enforcement section. We hope that community members take that very seriously and go about that the proper way. We would love to see more of that discussion happening ahead of time rather than having to react. As usual, I'll provide a reminder that discussion in comments or social media posts are not always seen or the most appropriate way to speak with town manager or the counselors. I hope that everyone in the community understands that my phone works very well. My office is open to them. I hope that I appear as an approachable person to them, and I would love to discuss anything. I'm happy to help at any point in time to the best of my ability. There is an awful lot of misinformation and miscommunication out in the community at this time. And I'm very happy to address any of it with anyone at any time during normal business hours. I do have a personal life, so I would like to keep it that way. Appreciate you all for listening to my report this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any council comment? Council Pelletier?
Yes, regarding the CAT TV, I'd like to point out that as we were going through the budget, I noticed that for the 2021 year, we spent $10,000 on that. Also, I'd like some clarification as to the needed upgrades that you may have discussed with Mr. Sear, whether that would include a live broadcast versus a taping and transferring it to this kind of a thing. Also, on the AARP use of that money for the culvert, I'm not totally against that, where that would leave 70,000 in that account. I'd like to find out, or if you can clarify for me, has any organization approached you with any kind of plan or application for that money? Also, see Public Works Tour. Well, I have to tell you that when it comes to me, you're preaching to the choir about the Public Works Department and its leadership. And they've been great, and their budgets are always hardly ever commented on. And as for the potluck and barbecue, I agree that we should have that, not within the building. The outdoor spaces that we considered would be fine. And in the inclement weather, we could have some of the, I believe we have some canopy type tents that we can probably erect if we need to. Certainly agree with the tax acquired policy having to be discussed, and give you a firm footing on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pelletier. Any other, did you want to respond to the ARPA question?
I think so. Councilor Pelletier, could you restate the question regarding the funding with American Rescue Plan Act?
Oh, that I didn't disagree with the use of 150,000 for the culvert, but was there any applications from any organizations for the use of that money to the town? We brought this subject up more than once, and I'm always asking, is there anybody applying or asking for any of that money?
I have not received any formal request for donations from that.
Yeah, well, it makes it kind of hard to dish it out to them then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pelletier. Any other council comment on the manager's report? Councilor Madore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the tax acquired property is concerned, we've gone round and round and round about this over the course of several years since we started taking tax acquired properties and putting them out to bid and everything. I would suggest getting our town's attorney to come up with, in cooperation with our town treasurer, a order how to deal with tax acquired property, a legitimate legal that can be enforced in the court of law, how to steps to go ahead and sell off these properties so that we're not having these situations. I'd like to have the language taken care of properly. I think we've danced around and tried to change it a few times, and we haven't really delved into getting a firm legal thought about this. Dean has interjected a couple of times, but I'd like to go ahead and just get this taken care of once and for all. I mean, it should be, I didn't think the problem was that bad to begin with, but obviously others disagree. I thought we were doing a fairly good job at this, and we've had some great successes. As far as the potluck supper is concerned, why not? Sure. You know, it's what it is. Okay, sure, let's try it. What the heck, you know? I don't want to do it in the fall or the winter. I think it would be rather chilly and I think unfavorable to go ahead and have a meet and greet, but in the spring and summer, why not? As far as I'm looking so forward to the construction down at Veterans Park. I think that's going to be a great thing. And again, kudos to Councilor McEwen for all his hard work in facilitating to get that project up and on the way. And I'm looking forward now to getting down to the finish line of this and get it done and see the outcome. As far as the Iron Bridge Road culvert, this is something that needs to be done. We have the ARPA funds to be able to do it, to lessen the burden on the taxpayer. I think the 150,000 is, as we discussed in previous meetings, is perfectly legitimate to go ahead and use, and I would be in favor of it. I think moving forward, I think that would be the best way to do it, and I'd like to see it done sooner than later so that we can start the permitting process and that to get it on the way, because I think the manager's right. We need to, you know, to get it on the fast track, we need to start working on it now. And with that, I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Councilor McEwen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to note, one of the points you made on Council Madore on the tax acquired process. I know you had said to obtain a legal process, and I want to just make sure that everyone's aware that the process we have in which of the tax acquired process is a legal process, right, where we can distribute and sell those properties off through that bidding process we already do. Just wanted to make sure, just because of the language that was said, that there is already a legal process happening, and it's not to find a legal process that isn't currently already happening. Just wanted to throw that out there. And the second point is too, it's actually in your comments as well, but CDBG, I'm too really excited to see, you know, improvements down that part. But it also goes to say is how far removed I am from that project at this point. And really, there's quite something to say about going through a couple of iterations of administration, trying to get a project off the ground and finally seeing it to actually start to happen. Those people who are sitting behind our desks, the town manager, the new Citizens Initiative Director, did I said that right? Community Initiatives Director, as well as the other networks such as the state, who have been very gracious in letting us go through this far. So I do appreciate the kudos, but there are some people both near and far that have kept this a reality for us. So just to recognize those, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen. Do you have a opinion on the barbecue or potluck?
Sure.
Put you in the shore category. I'll create a new one here. Any other council comment? Councilor Bragdon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Start off, Public Works, I agree with Louis. I have the utmost respect for everybody that works there. I think what they do is fantastic, and I think they work really hard to make sure that we're safe in the public during the winter and during the summer. Tax acquired property. I've been saying this since day one. I feel like there's been an issue. I'm glad to see that it's finally being looked into. And I do agree with Councilor Madore. I think that legal teams should be brought in to look at this with us, and we can look at this and say, hey, what can we do to change this? As Councilor McEwen said, it is a legal process, but I just think there's some flaws to it as it stands right now. The ARPA funds, I'm going to be flat out. I don't think it's a good idea to use the ARPA funds. We've heard several people in the community speak out against us using the ARPA funds for the Iron Bridge. I do agree it needs to be done immediately. However, I don't think the use of the ARPA funds is the correct way to approach this. I think there are plenty of other ways to approach this, and the ARPA funds could be used for something that I feel like the public should have more public. We should have more public opinion on the ARPA funds. I know that we've tried. I just feel like we need to try a little bit harder. I just don't feel like the use of the ARPA funds is good for that particular project. Potluck, the events committee, there were several people that have brought this up to me. I've been trying to push it for a couple of months. I definitely feel like it's needed, and now that it's getting warmer, I feel like it's a great way to get people to come down to the municipal building, talk to us, kind of open up a warmer environment between the community and us. I just think it's better as a whole for everyone to get more involved, and I feel like this is a great way to initiate that. The CDBG, I am so happy that's finally moving. I know that there have been headaches in the past, and I'm glad to see that it's finally being a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Councilor Danforth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Around CAT TV, I'd like to know more. I know they need to do the upgrade, and that's been holding them back around funding. Once they do the upgrade, are they going to come in and I think Councilor Pelletier even asked, are they going to come in and just record again and then put it on disc, and or is it going to be streamed? I'd like to know how they're upgrading and the current technologies, and is that going to then our Beeline customers, are they going to go back and be able to see the council meetings via that source that they did in the past? So I want more information. And I also think that perhaps the opera funds that we have could be used towards what CAT TV needs to fill the gap. That would be a great public service for our community and for those that have Beeline cable TV, and if that's the way they access information. But we've been without it for so long. I know a lot of citizens relied on that, and since the gap has been there, have they started watching it on the internet or the YouTube channel? I don't know if there's a way to assess ongoing use of that means for getting information. I know I'm kind of talking in circles, but it seems like we just need some more information going forward on CAT TV about their upgrade and what they see as the projected viewership after that. And is it different from what we already have? But I support that, and they do need, I've been on their board, as I know other people, members of the council have been on their board, and hopefully we can get some community members to step forward who see utility in that media outlet. I'll come back to that. The potluck, I think anything that we can do to be more visible in the public, accessible to the community, I'm all for that. I like the idea of outdoors and open spaces, especially because we're still dealing with COVID amongst us. So what we can do to mitigate that and be safe and still meet people in public, I'm for that. Tax acquired property. I know Councilor Pelletier actually brought forward some language, and I don't know if it's an economic development committee meeting or sustainability committee, one of those meetings, So I think we could probably revisit that. He had some solid suggestions. However we get to our, however we get it resolved, it will be good to get something on the books. We have a solid structure or a solid the way that we address this each and every time. So I'm looking forward to getting that something enacted that way. Appreciated your public service announcement around code enforcement and the needs for permitting. It's a great use of the time here, information out there. And so around, I know we have an order to use the ARPA funding for the culvert. I too, I have a lot of heartburn about this, and I'm not in favor of using those funds for that purpose. I know it's an emergency. We need to take care of the culvert. You know, thinking that perhaps we need to look at our unassigned fund balance and the money that's there for emergencies like that. I have, and as Councilor Brogdon has said, and you have mentioned, we have had some different discussions. You have not received any kind of proposal. I think we need to go back out, but not also to the public, but just what do we need as a municipality? One big example, one great example, I didn't expect it this evening, was from the presentation that we had about the Little Italy playground. Look at our own recreation, look at our own playgrounds that need upgrades, that need to be refurbished. We need new equipment there. So if we're going to put money into things that are more public health related or community minded, I'd rather have us look at the recreation budget. I know we haven't had it. The recreation director hasn't come and met with us yet to talk about maybe capital expenditures or what she has in mind. But maybe we need to think about what do we have in mind for our community going forward. I see these ARPA funds as one-time funding, and those are things that I feel that we should use the funding on. Some of the guidance that you get from the federal government, the eligible use of the spending, supporting public health expenditures, addressing negative economic impacts, replacing revenue lost because of the pandemic, providing premium pay for essential workers, investing in infrastructure, including water, sewer, and broadband. Yes, the culvert is part of our infrastructure, but that's something the town needs to take care of anyway. I think we have, there's other funding, broadband. We know all our community members need access to broadband. That's the way, that's how we get our information and communicate with others. So if there's something that we need to put our money for broadband, so people have, you know, the Wi-Fi access, we can look at those things. But I will end here and just say I'm not in favor of using the ARPA funds for that project.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Any other council comment? Councilor Cray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Andrew, is this the new report that we're going to be receiving, not the breakdown of what the various departments have been doing?
We've discussed this multiple times, Council Bray. We have moved to a method where we have departmental updates once a month.
Once a month?
And once a month, it is just from the manager.
That's fine. Just, I must have missed that. In reference to CAT TV, CAT TV exists because the Federal Communications Commission created public television about 50 years ago. And every community, you have a community channel, and that exists there. I think it would be a wise use of the Community Initiative Director to see if there's any funds available from that to help them to update their equipment. A lot of cable networks and a lot of major networks, if they get promotion on the public television station they're carrying, might fund some of the needs they have to update their system that they talk about. It's just a possibility of trying to resolve that particular situation there. In reference to tax acquired property, before I came on as the acting manager back in 2011, I had been told that the previous councils and managers had discussed it and had changed it a couple of times. When I was there for less than a year, we changed it. It's changed a couple of times since. It constantly changes. When you talk about a solid solution, the solid solution depends on who's sitting on this side of the dais when issues come up. And it changes as particular properties come up with particular interest out of the community and others. Obviously, more recently, Airbnbs and short-term rentals and type of situation has changed what's happened to a lot of that property. Whereas before, it basically was somebody that wanted a vacation home and people who either wanted to get a home that was leasing or renting property in town or wanted to move back, and they were willing to take up and fix up property. The future and what's happened to the housing market, I do think we should be, it's a balancing act, but I think it should be left up to the council. If you want to spell it out as to what that process is, but the council has always tried to take consideration, at least I have as a member of the council, of what do I think is best for the community in the long run. Somebody might offer from away, I'll give you X plus $10,000, and somebody else says, I'll give you the X dollars because that's all I can afford. That person is bringing in a family and somebody that's going to be in the school system and somebody that's going to be here working versus somebody that's going to come up on vacation a few months, a couple of months during the winter or maybe during the summer. I'd rather have the family here. If you get too strict of a system designed, too solid of a system, because they are all legal, because the state law allows the council to make the determination. The final say is to rather give the property away or sell the property. That's state law allows the council to decide how to do that. And I wish you luck in finding a solid system way to do it. In reference, public media comments, I agree with the manager in reference to social media is not the place necessarily to respond to things, but I saw a letter to the editor and one of the papers made references or comments, which they know half the facts. They don't get them totally correct, even the half that they know. And it's difficult to leave them unanswered because then it becomes reality because nobody responds to it. And I think at some point in a generic sense, and I don't have a solution as to how it happens, but some of these things we need to answer because there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of misreporting, a lot of miscommunications going on out there that makes it difficult. In reference to having a community dinner, cookout, barbecue or what, I think it's a great idea. It'd be interesting to see who comes. But if I go to Hannaford to get a quart of milk and a dozen eggs, it takes me an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. If I go out and have coffee, heck, even down to Medway, I'm there for an hour's conversation besides who I'm there with having the conversation. So I can't imagine you're all not getting a lot of interactions with the community and the people in town, let alone phone calls, emails, and so forth. I'm sure you're all getting it. But I do think we can make that attempt and we'll see who comes out. I have no problems of doing it a couple times a year. Maybe even when some of the big events are going on that we kind of have, for example, Winterfest. Maybe we'll have a little function talking about weather, cold weather versus warm weather, of hot chocolate and something else, and just people can come and talk. If it's too cold for you, don't show up. But the rest of us, I'm willing to do it anytime anybody wants to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. I'll just add a few of my thoughts on some of what's been said. I agree very much with what Councilor Prey said about the tax acquired properties. Keeping it flexible allows us as a council to respond to the current demand and the current need in the community without having to go through a revision process and then again and again and again based upon the changing needs of the community. There have been many times where we as a council have chosen the lower bid because it was supporting a family getting their first home in town, and that over someone buying it as a rental property. If you, as Councilor Prey said, and I agree completely, if you make it too strict and you outline what priorities are in the time that that new policy is created, it could very quickly and easily become very cumbersome to actually responding to why we're all here, which is to, obviously do to the best of our ability what we can for the community to better it. So I think keeping it broad allows us to bring our 7 different perspectives of what the community needs, discuss it, have public input on it as well, and ultimately make our decision. So I like it very much the way it is, but I'm still very open to what Councilor Pelletier is suggesting. Very much in favor of the potluck barbecue, and I appreciate you, Councilor Bragdon, for keeping this going. I know that this council has, and councils prior, has made significant changes to become more transparent and more open and inviting. And a lot of it thanks to Councilor McEwen, to be honest, and his time here on the council. And I just want to say thank you for all that you've done to make that happen. But the councils as a whole, I feel over the past 5 years and even longer has progressively made more and more changes. And I feel leading to the point where we can be an open community off of this pedestal, so to speak, and step down and really talk to people when they know we're going to be there, could hopefully have a very different type of dynamic that will be more inviting and allow more people to be comfortable to speak to us and get the information that they may not be receiving correctly, or at least be pointed to it and guided to it. I just think it's an important thing for us to try, and hopefully it works. So thank you, Councilor Bragdon, for that. Also in Veterans Park, trees will be planted there fairly shortly as well. The entire stretch of the walkway due to the tree canopy project will be flowering trees. So every spring there'll be an entire walkway of very bright pink flowers and other native plants below it that help with pollinators and whatnot throughout the summer. So hopefully it'll be something also picturesque that people can go and take pictures with, but also just really sit and enjoy the fact that spring is coming after a very long winter. So that, in collaboration with the CDBG project, I think will be a really nice completion to that park, at least for now, for this year. So that was an update for that. And lastly, and I'll speak to it more when we get to the order, but I very much agree with the concerns of using ARPA funds for the bridge, recognizing it is a concern. A lot of organizations, in my opinion, have used ARPA funds for things that don't address physical health, mental health, and all the social issues that come of the pandemic. To take such a big chunk of what little money we have on infrastructure and not try in some way to address the physical, social, emotional health of our community, I think would be wrong. It could still be infrastructure, perhaps like the park, but something that adds to the community in a different way than safety, which I believe also the undesignated funds, unassigned fund balance is there for. But we'll get to that then. With that being said, also just to thank you, the manager, for that good report. Any public comment? Randy Jackson.
Randy Jackson, 106 Knox Street. A couple of things. One is CAT TV is really an underutilized gem that we have. Updating it is necessary. I think it can be a very useful instrument for the town. I think we should get some comments maybe from Hudson University and their video and radio program that they have. I would also reach out to the local television stations and get some opinions. I think that CAT TV could be used for the community in many, many ways. School concerts, the chamber members could use it for videos, advertising. I think the events that we have in town would be very appropriate for the CAT TV. I think the list is almost limitless. I think there's money available for art and culture, with CAP TV. Mr. Pray's comments about the federal the monies available for local television stations is very important as well. So I would be in favor of anything that we could do for CAT TV. On the ARPA monies, right? According to the Katahdin Times, we have a little bit more money in our reserve account than we should have, according to our accountants. And I think $150,000 could be used for the culvert along with state funds as well. I think that the ARPA fund should be used for the citizens who took a big hit during COVID. Mental health issues are very important in our town. I think that we're considering and actually getting a social worker to work with the police department. And I think maybe some of the ARPA funds could be used to offset those expenses, which, you know, would help the citizenry, especially with the mental health issues in the town. I also thought of the general assistance fund with the inflation and the prices going up. Maybe that could be looked at and part of those monies allotted accordingly to the lesson. Unfortunate. So as far as the building, selling the buildings to the public, I just have a great difficulty driving by some of these buildings that were purchased for $1 or $10, 6, 8, 10 years ago, and watching them deteriorate. And the purpose was to repurpose these buildings and build them up, and to watch some of these buildings just fall apart. I don't understand that. Here's a suggestion that I would just think about. You're going to sell a building, unlock it, have an inspector come in, inspect the building. It's going to cost the town some money. However, you're going to get a list of what needs to be fixed in that building to bring it up to code, for one thing. And that money can be reimbursed to the town when the place is purchased. And also, if you get that assessment, and let's say it's $15,000 or $20,000, that person who buys a building should have to put up a bond for that money. You know, buy a building for $1 and let it rot does not enhance the town of Millinocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy Jackson. Any other public comment? Some on chat, Mr. Manager?
There are a few in chat. Brittany Gruder mentions, she asks rather, have any other grant sources been sought after for the match of the culvert? I believe that there are infrastructure funds out there that could be used with this. I agree with Councilor Bragdon that ARPA funds should be used to address other community concerns. I'll respond to that a little later. This is Susan D'Alessandro. She writes, I agree with Councilor Bragdon, Councilor Danforth, and Brittany Gruder. I realize that some were told by MMA, a municipal association, that ARPA funds could be used for the bridge, but everyone I have talked to have studied the rules and would think infrastructure funds. Oh, I'm sorry. And they've studied the rules and haven't agreed. I would think that the infrastructure funds would be released way before the March deadline for the other funding. However, I'll just add that the deadline is in March for that funding, but it's impossible to do that bridge work throughout the winter, as far as I understand. So if we do not have that completed by winter, it's likely we'll be losing that funding. She also asks, will the department reports be made public monthly in the same format as we were when they were at each meeting? Yes. Those are included in the manager's report and is releases the same way as usual. Ellie mentions I am in support of potluck. I agree with Louis that it should be held outside, and I think it's an amazing way for people to get to counselors, ask questions, have overall and overall have a good time. I want to make it known that stemming from our discussions during the 3 ARPA workshops that we held, it was impressed upon me that there was interest in using this funding for that project. Had I not felt that way from those conversations, I would not have pursued that as the option. I want everybody to keep in mind that it is very clearly stated the appropriate use for that funding. If we don't take care of this project, let me also state that I am fully supportive of all of the social, mental support that has been talked about as well. I would love to see that programming improved in any way we can. It is likely that if we don't use these fundings, that we will lose out on the funding we have already, and the impact to taxpayers of Millinocket will be greatly increased because of it. It will go from a cost of $70,000 to nearly $400,000. In terms of mill rate at its current state, that's about two increased mill rates. If we are able to seek additional grant funding through infrastructure funds or other programs, the timelines, I believe, will be extended pretty far into the future. I would also invite anyone who is opposed to this to actually visit this bridge and that culvert and look into the tunnel and see the holes caused by the rust and the corrosion over the years. It is actually a danger at this point. And I would, again, restate that the original ARPA funding workshop discussions that we had led me to believe that there was interest within this group to use that funding for this project. Otherwise, I would not have brought it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and you are correct in that. At the time, there was definitely a majority of the council feeling that ARPA funds could be used for that bridge. Just want to say that on the record that you are correct about that, and we can discuss that more when we get to the order. Any other public comment on the manager's report? Chief Malcolm?
Tom Malcolm, Fire Chief, Safety Officer. I didn't realize we were going to talk about aqua funds. I'm going to stand up again and talk about aqua funds. I'm 100% behind the bridge. Get something on the bridge. I came from the fire truck. And back in mind, we have to go Giant Bridge Road. We got to go all the way around that. Is it a lot longer? How traffic is. Back in mind. But I'm also here to read. This all started, we talked about pandemic, which has caused all this. All this stuff is coming. We're still in the pandemic right now. People can say whatever they want, what's going on in the state of Maine. But 80 of your counties are high risk areas, including us. We're still in trouble. We need to put money aside. Talk about this. I know you haven't made any decisions. I just want to make sure that we still get our voice heard. We need to do something with that. And I also plead to take care of your first responders. first responders have worked over 2 years. And they're very tired. And they're feeling neglected. Just keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Malcolm. Any other public comment on the manager's report? Seeing none. That moves us to
Mr. Chairman, there is another comment in the chat.
in chat.
Susan D'Alessandro asks, what about if the firehouse is moved up to Central Street? How long will that take to get to Iron Bridge Road? I thought the price now was about $350,000. How did it go to over 400,000? That is slightly askew from what was actually said. The original estimate on that project was done in early 2020. As we've seen throughout the nation, the costs of materials and labor has increased substantially. That was at the advice of the engineering firm that handles these projects from us to redo the estimate so that we do not get in a financial bind because of it and understand where we need to be moving into it. That is the total cost. That project now that is $345,000. If done without any other funding, keeping in mind timeline would basically eliminate the $125,000 grant that has been allocated to that project. That would move the total cost of that project out of grant funding and ARPA funding and onto the taxpayers of the community. Chief Malcolm, would you mind speaking to the question regarding the response time with the fire station in the suggested new location if we get there within the sustainability committee?
Chief Malcolm, I fire department. Time-wise, as far as the fire station, where we are right now, go to Central Street, may make it faster. And all your stands because of where we are. There are times it's awesome that we had a fire the other day, we went back, trying to truck away. We're in circles. Vehicles go by us, anything. So I can't answer that, but how much time it because of the run. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Malcolm. And Susan, feel free to continue attending those committee meetings where we are discussing that currently.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor
Susan sent me a message. I think she meant to send it to the manager, but I also didn't hear the end of what Chief Malcolm said. It was very choppy. Could he just repeat it again so we can hear it?
I can reiterate it quickly if that's all right. He said due to the fact that being downtown and having increased traffic, it could even be faster depending on circumstances to respond from Central Street rather than the current downtown location. And he cited a recent fire in which I can attest to. I was there and saw the trucks trying to get back into the station. It is a very hectic and very hard to maneuver place. He has not timed it, so he doesn't have the numbers. So I invite you to come to the committee meeting where that can be discussed further. And I would ask if anyone else has any comment on ARPA related stuff that we wait until the order itself. Any other public comment?
Just another mention of the breakup in sound with Chief Malcolm's comment. And then another comment from Susan D'Alessandro stating this wasn't about the outer Central Street. It was about presently going over the bridge versus Katahdin Avenue as comparison.
Thank you, Susan. I'm sure the chief or the manager can follow up with you on that. Moving on to unfinished business, Councilor Pelletier, if I could have you read order number 75, 2022, please.
Certainly. Order number 75-2022, providing for authorization of land lease agreement at municipal airport. Whereas the airport manager was approached with interest in leasing 1 acre of land for agricultural purposes from Stephen Goldie in the amount of $250 per year. And whereas the leased land would be used for the planting of sunflowers and grapes that will not interfere with airport functions or future construction. It is now ordered that the town manager is authorized to enter into a lease agreement with Stephen Goldie for agricultural use at the municipal airport.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Pelletier, seconded by Councilor Danforth. Does the council mind if I go down as a public member? Hello. So I had sent out, thank you, Stephen Goldie, Bait High Street. After there being a couple meetings where there were concerns and questions raised, I sent out this bullet point of kind of what I was thinking. To give you kind of an overview of what I'm looking at doing, I would like to create a vineyard for making wine. It takes about 3 years, sometimes 4, depending on climate and conditions, to have actual viable grapevines. So this is a significant investment. I just bought 100 grapes that are specifically meant to live in a colder climate like this. Fencing and wiring and other things like that are also a much greater expense. I'm requesting a 10-year option that would have to be renewed annually. So the council would basically have to renew or not renew an agreement. I say 10 years because it will be that point that the investment actually starts paying off. I could be interested in additional acreage as well to expand it if it goes well. And eventually I would like to actually open up a winery, similar style of a airport hangar. That can have a patio and look out at the runway and the mountain with the grapevines there. That's longer term vision, may not get there. That's why there's an annual option here. I offer $250 an acre per year. Currently, the national average is $139 an acre. And it also is permitted as a use under the FAA rules as well. Those are my thoughts. If you want to consider either making an amendment to it or entrusting the manager in the way that it's written to follow this type of arrangement or anything else you want to consider, I'm happy to answer questions. Charlie?
No one's, okay. Yeah, a couple of questions. I had raised concerns earlier, not in reference specifically to this. How many acreage do we have, and maybe this is to Jeff, at the airport that could be leased out in some capacity for agricultural or some other types of interest?
Jeff Campbell, Airport Manager. We are in the process of determining how many more acres are available. Currently, we have 15 acres available to put hangar lots on and other industrial commercial lots available. There's at least 15 there between Midway Road and the runway. There are other areas that we haven't identified yet, such as the 25-acre solar. So we have room on airport property that doesn't interfere with airport operations. So as this progresses, we can take it by case basis and see what we've got. But I've looked into this quite a lot, and this is
if I may continue, and the reason I raised that, I'll give you a little brief history. When in the early 60s, when I was in the military, when I came back from Southeast Asia, in the Bergstrom Air Force Base in Austin, Texas, the individual that owned that land sold it to the U.S. government or rented it to the U.S. government, but he kept the haying rights. I used to earn extra money, group of us in the outfit selling hay, or him cutting the hay, baling it, and we picked it up and delivered it to various places. So there's a lot of agricultural interest that go along with these. This was a military base and obviously airports. My concern is that without a policy, and we can do this case by case, but I'm just concerned that we get somewhere along the, what if somebody wants to come in and do 10 acres of an apple orchard, there we go, or some other type of activity. I would just feel more comfortable if we had some type of set policy, if it's to use the guidelines here, which I haven't seen. I just was shared to me by my seatmate here, but I'm just a little nervous about going without understanding where it stops or where it could go off to. Thank you.
My first thought on this, on your line of questioning there is the fact that these need to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, because some things are not allowed by the FAA. Some things are and are not allowed as far as animal mitigation, wildlife, birds, for example, so forth. So you have to be very careful what you do. Growing of this nature is definitely allowed in grant assurances. So, but if somebody comes along with another proposal with something else, then we would go through that process. It's not just going to be a blanket. It has to be a well orchestrated plan, which I think this is right.
If I may, to Steve, you may know, obviously you read and said that the average agricultural lease land is $250 an acre. Or
The average is
it's
$139.
$139 an acre for agriculture, but I dealt with agricultural issues when I was the Department of Energy, dealing with ranchers and stuff that leased federal land that were owned by the Department of Energy, and some of them paid single-digit dollars for years of leasing it, and they turned around and subleased it for hundreds of dollars, and I'm talking 30 years ago. I think that price depends on what the use is, and I would hope that we'd have a policy that would be flexible based upon who's coming in, for what purposes they might be using it, because there may be a higher end economic value of which could help pay for the operation at the airport. We could use some additional revenues there. And I just think that I just want to make sure we're not locking ourselves in to something without a broader policy. And I have a lot of faith in Jeff. If he's looked it up and feels comfortable with it, again, not in reference to this specific one, but what follows, what comes next. That's my concern.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Just to address that, that's why I put in there would be an annual renewal. So if for whatever reason this does not pan out to be revenue producing as something else that might be much better, you can bulldoze all 100 of my grapevines, put something else up if you want.
Along that, I had thought of this earlier, because I wasn't quite sure what you meant by you wanted a 10-year lease with annual review. I have known practices of having a 10-year lease, and the next year you ask for a 10-year lease. I want to renew the lease for 10 years, 10 years, 10 years. So you basically, it creeps forward each year. You're going to make an investment. You said it's going to take several years for you to get it. How do you make that investment knowing if we review it annually and we might cancel it? Or are you asking for language that says, I want a 10-year lease, and the next year I want to continue that 10-year, so you're really getting 11, 12, 13, 14?
No, I just want a 10-year option. So basically I have to be offered it. And if I can do it and clearly it's working, then great. And if not, and the council feels that it's not the best use of the land, then someone else with a higher use can get it. If it expands into what I'd hope it would, then it would be more acreage and more of an investment. So at that point, I'd probably present something very different. But for now, for being much smaller and starting off the way it is, I'm fine with that risk. I don't think anyone's going to want to use that acre, so.
I would just like to go ahead and offer a language amendment to this order. Second paragraph. Whereas the airport manager was approached with the interest of leasing, Steve Golding in the amount of $250 per year with a 10-year option to be renewed at the discretion of the council annually.
Has to be a motion. That was the motion. You didn't move.
No, I move that we add on paragraph 2 with a 10-year option to be renewed at the discretion of the council annually.
Second.
Did you second it?
I also just wanted to mention, there's been 2 counselors waiting to comment on this.
Yeah, well, there's still a motion in a second.
I most certainly can take over if
Please,
if you would like, or we can do a pro temp. to get through.
please take over.
So I have Councilor Madore made the motion to amend and Council McEwen second the motion to amend.
No, I'm not used to it.
Louis. Mr. Councilor Prey. I mean,
Yes.
thank you.
We're discussing the amendment, and I do believe it should be part of the last paragraph. It is ordered, not a whereas. It is ordered that stipulation be offered. Any comments?
This is Councilor McEwen here. I don't necessarily think that that's more of a semantic issue because the whereases are ordered by the order. It's a definition of the order. So it still would be implied that it's ordered. If you know what I'm saying. Thank you.
Correct. Bragdon.
Thank you. I was fine with the way it read, but I like this as well. I think that it's a great investment in another way for the airport to bring in more revenue. I don't see why this shouldn't pass. Thank you.
If I may,
Councilor Prey.
Councilor Bragdon, you talked about it cutting off at the end. I didn't understand the last 3 words you said.
I said, I think this is a great way for the airport to bring in more revenue, and I don't see why it shouldn't pass. Thank you.
Any other council comment on the amendment? Seeing none, how about the public? Mr. Goldie.
Steve Goldie, 8 High Street. Yeah, I would be completely fine with that language. And speaking to Councilor Bragdon's point about revenue and Councilor Bray, airports have a lot of leeway in how they can bring in revenue, and there's a significant amount of cleared land. It does require some effort into remediating it for agricultural use, but I would hope that at some point, beyond my own interests, that airport could also be looked at as a potential source for agriculture for our community. There's very few pieces of land like that in this whole region that is as well suited for agriculture. So hopefully this could be a good first step into proving a concept and maybe bringing other people on board with that. So thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
There are now 3 regarding Susan D'Alessandro. I think it's a win-win, airport and the town. Council Bragdon agrees. Robert Foster, I love the idea of vineyard and possibly winery in the future. I also love the idea of using it for agriculture in the future.
You may go back to your seat.
Ba-da-da-ba-da-da.
Would you like to restate the amendment as I have it half written for the vote,
Would I like to restate it myself?
please? Or, Councilor Bador, would you restate the amendment, please?
The amendment would read in paragraph 2 that from Steve Goalie in the amount of $250 a year with a 10-year option to be renewed at the discretion of the council annually.
Thank you, and thank you for asking for that clarification. With the motion and second, all those in favor of the amendment, Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Cray,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Goley will abstain, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
The motion to amend passes 601. Any further discussion on the amended order from the council? Seeing none and out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor of the amended order, Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Cray,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Goley will abstain, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
Order passes 601. And Councilor Bratton, if I could have you read order number 92, 2022, please.
Order number 92-2022, providing for execution of the town warrant for May 12th, 2022. It is ordered that the town warrant for May 12th, 2022 in the amount of $103,045.75 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Bragdon, seconded by Councilor McEwen. Heavy hitters.
$34,146.60 to the Maine Water Company, $10,078.63 to the Municipal Review Committee, $9,334.75 to Willett Adam and a Willett Electrician, $5,526.43 to T.Y. Lin International, $5,480 to Stephen Galib. That's a reimbursement for IT equipment. $5,598.04 to Dead River. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Any discussion of the council? And just noting that reimbursement in my name was for the technology that the council passed an order for. The upgrades, the town doesn't have a credit card and it was very difficult to make that purchase. So I offered to use my line of credit. Mr. Manager.
Town doesn't have a credit card yet.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other discussion from the council? Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
Chair Goley, aye. Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Cray,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. And Councilor Bragdon, right back at you. If I could have you read order number 93, 2022, please.
Order number 93, 2022, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for May 12th, 2022. It is ordered that the wastewater warrant for May 12th, 2022 in the amount of $8,021.12 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Bragdon, seconded by Councilor Madore. Heavy hitters.
$4,560.60 to the town of Millinocket and $1,190.04 to Preble Oil.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Any other council comment? Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Madore. Chair Goley, aye. Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Cray,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. Councilor Pelletier, if I could have you read order number 94, 2022, please.
Certainly. Order number 94-2022, providing for approval of an application for a victualer's license for Hang Hong Yang Corporation. It is ordered that the attached application for a victualer's license is hereby approved for Yang Dang Yu, 973 Central Street, doing business as Hang Hong Yang Corporation, 973 Central Street.
Motion by Counselor Pelletier, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Bragdon.
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Gully by Counselor Madore.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. Counselor Madore, if I could ever read order number 95-2022, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Order number 95-2022, providing for approval of an application for victualer's license for Barbecue House. It is ordered that the attached application for a victualer's license is hereby approved for, I believe it's I Highland. Okay, 10 Balsam Drive, doing business as Barbecue House, 10 Balsam Drive.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Madore, seconded by Counselor McEwen. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Chair Gully by Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. Counselor McEwen, could I read order number 96-2022, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 96-2022, providing for approval of an application for a victualler license for Pomola Motor Lodge. It is ordered that the attached application for a victualler license is hereby approved for Christopher Carr Katahdin Services LLC, 973 Central Street, doing business as Pomola Motor Lodge, 973 Central Street.
Second.
Motion by Counselor McEwen, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Bragdon.
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Gully by Counselor Madore. Order passes 7-0. Counselor Danforth, can I have you read order number 97-2022, please?
Yes, order number 97-2022, providing for approval for an application for a victual license for Appalachian Trail Cafe. It is ordered that the attached application for a victual license is hereby approved for Leah Malcolm, 23 Forest Avenue, doing business as Appalachian Trail Cafe, 2010 Penobscot Avenue.
Aye. Second. Yeah, what the hell?
Jump the gun there. Motion by Counselor Danforth, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, out of the public. Yes, Diana?
I see Leah on. I want to thank you for the correction on the application that has been taken care of.
Any other public comment?
I just want to add that I'm so happy to have the opportunity to walk across the street and have lunch there often. And now that they are reopened, it's just even more exciting. Her and Josh are great people, and I'm just really happy that they're done at that show.
Thank you, Peter. Leah, your hand's up.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you all for your comments. And I wanted to tell Diana, once a teacher, always a teacher. I'm so sorry to correct your paper, but I had to.
Thank you,
you.
Leah. Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Madore. Chair Gully by, Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. Counselor Prey, can I have you read order number 98?
Order number
2022?
89-2022, providing for approval for application for a victular license for Dunkin' Donuts. It's ordered that the attached application for a victular license is hereby approved for Drew Co. LLC, Michael Weemet, 132 Riverside Avenue, Bristol, Connecticut, 06010, doing business as Dunkin' Donuts, 719 Central Street.
Motion by Counselor Prey, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Prey, Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Gully, Counselor Madore. Order passes 7-0. Counselor Pelletier, could I have you read order number 99, 2022, please?
Certainly. Order number 99-2022, providing for appointment to Millinocket Town Committee Events Committee. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves to remove Michael Madore from the Events Committee, and it is further ordered that the Millinocket Town Council appoints Louis Pelletier to serve as the Events Committee.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Pelletier, seconded by Counselor Danforth. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Chair Gully, Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Prey, Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. Counselor Bragdon, can I have you read order number 100, 2022, please?
Order number 100-2022, providing for approval to expend funds to hire entertainment for the 4th of July festivities. Whereas the events committee has found entertainment for the 4th of July events, and whereas $2,000 is needed to reserve FSM Enterprises and $600 is needed to reserve the band Recall. It is now ordered that the town council approves to expend $2,600 to reserve FSM Enterprises and Recall from the 4th of July restricted account, which will leave an unspent balance of $5,604.71, and the council authorizes the town manager to finalize all documents.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Bragdon, seconded by Counselor McEwen. Discussion of the council. Counselor Danforth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I just ask Counselor Bragdon, can you just expound on when the music's going to be played and this was going to happen for 4th of July?
Yep. So there's a lot more that's going to be coming out. We're going to be having our last events committee meeting next month to finalize everything that's going to be happening. But it's going to be a 3-day weekend this year. It's going to start on Saturday and end on Monday. Monday is going to be the parade and the fireworks. And then everything else is, there's not going to be anything else that happens on Monday. That way people have time to go to camp, which has previously been expressed in the past. So that will leave time for people to go up to camp on Monday. Now, Sunday and Saturday, however, we plan on doing a craft fair. There's some stuff going on at Granite Street. They plan on doing a color run. There's going to be a ton of stuff going on that we're planning, and there's tons of support for it. So with direction from some local people, and Tom Malcolm was a great help in this as well. We found a local band called Recall. Frank recommended them highly, and we want them to come play for us, and they're going to do that on Saturday, I think Sunday, and Saturday Frank's going to do some DJing for everybody. The Scudic is also doing their cornhole festival at the same time, and there are some other things that are be going on around the community as well that are not related to the town, that are just coinciding, which is great.
Thank you, Counselor Bragdon. Counselor Madore.
Councilor Bragdon actually did answer when we. That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Bragdon did answer what I was going to ask, which was when was the Frank Manzo going to be available to provide music, and when was the band going to play? So he already answered that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Counselor Bragdon.
So it's $1,000 per day for Frank. Frank's going to organize the band for Sunday. He's also going to do some other stuff before and after the band, and then he's going to do all day Saturday as well. So he's going to be doing both days.
Thank you, Counselor Bragdon. Mr. Manager.
Just wanted to add that I believe the cornhole tournament at the Scudic is in some form of partnership with our Katana as a fundraising event. I just wanted to make sure that relationship was known.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other council comment? Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Prey, Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Gully, Counselor Madore.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. And Counselor Madore, could I have you read order number 101, 2022, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Order 101-2022, providing for approval, traffic light system upgrade. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the $26,500 quote from Electric Light Company to upgrade the Central Sycamore Street traffic light system and my bad, died. All right, and whereas, no? Am I out?
Yeah, you're on.
All right. I can do this, I can do this.
It's working, you know. Oh,
It was.
Turn right on.
Why, thank you so very much. All right, so it is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approve $26,500 quote from Electric Light Company to upgrade the Central Sycamore street traffic light system, and whereas only $5,500 was budgeted in the FY 2022 capital budget for the Central Street traffic light camera. It is further ordered that the following changes be made with the FY 22 capital budget to provide for the $21,000 budget shortfall. One, transfer $4,190 from E1300-9502 capital reserve to E1300-9504 budgeted capital. Two, within the budget capital account E1300-9504, the following monies will also be transferred to the traffic light budget. $15,387 from the municipal building lighting and elevator repairs, and $1,423 from the trackless sidewalk machine budget.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Madore, seconded by Councilor Danforth. Discussion of the council.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor Madore.
I'm a little leery about transferring anything that has to do with funds for elevator repairs. I'm hoping that we haven't gone ahead. I mean, our elevators are safe and everything else, but if they have money for elevator repairs, I really am a little leery of taking money out of that account to necessarily do this. I agree that it's necessary for the traffic light to be replaced. I mean, the lighting system, the upgrade system is done, but why the elevator repairs?
Mr. Manager, do you have insight on that?
Well, the elevator is in good working order at this point in time. The amount of money that is in that account is substantially underwhelming to the cost of what it would take to actually repair that elevator or replace that elevator. We understand that it's quite old. I don't have the order rate in front of me. I don't remember the number. But we are favorable in that and other areas that have been unexpended throughout the year. So can make up with it the upcoming fiscal year, which starts about a month and a half from today.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
I'm fine.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Any other council comment? Councilor Danforth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just wondering if we could ask Ralph just to explain what an upgrade means to the current system.
Sure.
Ralph Susi, Public Works Director. Okay, hear me now? Okay, this system is going to be a single camera. Right now, we have loops that are in the road. There's wires that actual vehicles have to drive over before that traffic system recognizes there's a vehicle here. So this is going to be an above ground system. It's going to be a single camera that does a 360. And it's going to look at bicycle traffic, pedestrians, and vehicles at the same time. So right now, the system is just on a program for time. So you're going to pull up there and it's not even going to know you're there. It's just going to do a random switch. And right now, people are getting a little frustrated. They have to wait for that light to change. This will take care of all of that. So it's the latest technology out there. It's a single camera and it does the whole. The thing is about waiting too long to do this is we already got a quote for it. And say we do wait till after July, that cost could go up quite a bit. If we don't know. Definitely. Along with everything else.
Thank you, Ralph. Do you know if this system also detects first responders, if it changes lights at all for that?
That, I'm not sure. That's a microwave type system that some cities. I don't know. Point. Check on it. But it does count traffic. It does a series of other things as well. You can program it right from the beginning. It'll manage that intersection right now.
Thank you, Ralph. Any other council comment or question? Anyone from the public?
Susan D'Alessandro adds to the conversation. I hope someday you will look into regular maintenance contract with elevator. It will help a lot in avoiding large unexpected expenses. We do have a regular contract with a service provider who comes in regularly when that is a need. I guess saying regularly when it is needed is somewhat counterproductive. We do have an agreement with a company that services the elevator and comes in regularly.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other public comment?
I believe it's a lubricant and survey only.
Is it Susan also, or you're just talking?
This is Susan. I'm sorry, Susan. It's been a long day. I believe this is Susan D'Alessandro. I believe it is a lubricate and survey only. I used to work for Otis Elevator in my last life. I disagree. I've seen them in there repairing the elevator shaft and everything recently. I know that there was quite a bit more work going on than what is stated in your comment, but I respect what you said and the work that you did in that past life you mentioned.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Chief, did you have insight on that?
Oh, no, Fire Chief Safety Officer. We have a contract, they come in once a year and maintain, anything wrong. As soon as they and they lube it and that stuff, it's also that once a year. And then they've been in other times, other work. One time a year.
Thank you, Chief Malcolm. Any other public comment?
No, but I thank Chief Malcolm for providing that information, and my apologies for misspeaking to some extent.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Pelletier.
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Councilor Prey.
Aye.
Councilor Danforth.
Aye.
Councilor McEwen.
Aye.
Chair Gully by Councilor Madore.
Aye.
Order passes 7-0. And Councilor Danforth, if I can have you read order number 102, 2022, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Order number 102-2022, providing for approval to submit the age-friendly Millinocket Action Plan to AARP's network of age-friendly states and communities. Whereas the town applied to join the AARP's network of age-friendly states and communities in April of 2019 and it was accepted. And whereas the requirement of membership was to develop an action plan outlining actions to become more age-friendly based on needs assessment findings. And whereas the committee formed by the town created an action plan based on known community needs and capacity to address the needs, it is therefore ordered that the council approves the attached age-friendly Millinocket Action Plan and requests that the chair of the committee to submit the plan to the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities on behalf of the town.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor McEwen. There's a reason I called Councilor Danforth to read this order. Due to the significant amount of effort and time and energy that she has put into this, along with others, to make this action plan completed. I just want to say a huge thank you for not only doing the work itself, but recognizing all of the diverse areas of the community that definitely need to be recognized, understood, and responded to in a good way that your committee does and all your other work. So I just want to say thank you very much for this excellent packet that you put together and really appreciate your work. Counselor Pelletier,
Yes, I'll echoing your words, kudos to Counselor Dan.
you're a little hard to hear, Counselor Pelletier. While he's getting that situated, any other council comment? Counselor Danforth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of people to thank, and I don't want to start listing them off because I'd be here all night and I would be afraid that I would forget somebody. But for those that, if you do read it, there's a history of how this all started. So I encourage everybody to read it, and it will be posted on the town website under the Age Friendly Committee. And I guess I'll just make the public promise that this isn't going to be an action plan that's going to sit on a desk somewhere or just be a document on a shelf. There'll be things that are going on now and will continue to go on to achieve some of the goals. It's considered a 3-year action plan. It's a living document. Doesn't mean that we can't add things to this as we go along. There's already a lot of things already going on. When we applied in 2019, I think we were number 63 in the state to be part of the Age Friendly Network, and there's 83 communities in Maine that are now part of the network, and 657 total nationally. So Maine being one of the states, if not the state with the highest population of older folks. We're leading the way in this work, and I'm proud of the town of Millinocket for being a champion of this work. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Danforth. Counselor Pelletier, do you want to give that another try if your internet's working now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to echo your words and kudos to Council Danforth for shepherding this big part of the committee's work, and it's been quite a chore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Pelletier. Counselor McEwen?
Thank you for a really short story, but I did note my name was listed in that packet somewhere for acknowledgements. And you know how I am about people thanking me, but really it's more so about this little story of when we developed committees a handful of years ago and really started establishing more. And I believe Councilor Prey over there was like, we need to have an economic development committee or something like that. But anyways, when we started branching out more committees, I was the, I guess, first chair of the Age Friendly Committee, but I was more of just a position to allow Councilor Danforth, before she was a counselor on this board, to allow really her intent, her passion to come to this light within our means, because this wouldn't have, Cody, we really, wouldn't this be something great that we could have? What do you think about death? I really think, this would be great because it is great. And I might be listed in here and I appreciate the thanks, but really this is all you. And I was merely a vessel to help you get this established, but this is all you. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor McEwen, and agreed, it is all you, Counselor Danforth, no matter how many people you try and put it on. There are people that have helped you, but this is you. Counselor Madore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read the entire packet, and it's an incredible document and very well written and very well, explains very well everything that you're looking to do, I think, as far as an action plan is concerned. I look at one thing specifically, though. I look at page 13, and it's under community health and community and health services, and under resources, grant writing support from town community initiative director and Thrive Penobscot grant staff, and financial support from the town ARP funds. Are we putting the cart a little in front of the horse in the fact that those funds haven't been applied for yet, to assume that they are going to be there for this action plan?
I guess I don't have, let me think about my answer to that is, when you write down resources and barriers, it's a potential resource. It doesn't mean that you have secured it. That's one place you'll look for a resource. But has been also mentioned up from this bench that perhaps the resource navigator through Mobilize Katahdin, through the library, might receive some funds from our ARPA funds, because it's a very appropriate use of the funds. So anything in here, it isn't, it's a plan, it's potential resource. Some things have been secured, and I think I've noted places where funding has been secured, and there's other things that haven't. So it's a plan, you're hopeful, and it's one place that you will look for funding.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Councilor Dorr. Any other council comment? Seeing none out of the public. Mr. Manager?
Susan D'Alessandro says, thank you, Councilor Danforth and your committee for all of your work on this. And thank you to Councilor McEwen for initiating the committees and the council. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me try that again. And thank you, Councilor McEwen, for initiating the committees and the council and the town manager for all of us having access. And actually, now it's a full-time job to keep up with you all. There are 4 exclamation points on it.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Danforth, did you have a response?
Yeah, I just want to make sure when you read the acknowledgements, you read Tom Malcolm's name in there as well, because I do acknowledge him. He was doing this work way before I started. He actually pulled me in, and he's been part of the coalition work since I started, 20 years ago. So thank you, Mr. Malcolm, for your leadership as well.
Noting Chief Malcolm was very excited to have his name mentioned. Feel free to come up, Chief Malcolm.
Oh, no, 73 schools. This is exciting. See this actually done. As James said, I've been doing this for a while. And about 8 years ago, I got involved with the ARP, started traveling around the state doing trainings. All these communities are telling me they're age-friendly communities. I said, well, I'm old. You need to be an age-friendly community. So coming back to Millinocket, I knew where to go with it. Jane, I knew getting the word into Jane makes and then Cody get involved, and it's got a great ride. I'm just thrilled. Program in, and now we're part of it. When I go to my next training, I've got our programs all in and going. Thank you. Thank you, council, community.
Thank you, Chief Malcolm. Councilor Danforth.
Just one more time, one more thank you, and it's actually to the Millinocket Memorial Library. They've been a huge partner in this work too. And they have 2 AmeriCorps members that have been working behind the scenes on some of these projects as well. So it really has, the effort has grown. And I take pride actually in that many of the counselors now, recognize the word age friendly and use it in conversation, and that we want our community to become more age friendly. So that's probably one of my greatest proud moments and accomplishments when I hear other people use that term and as they think about Millinocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Any other public comment? Mr. Manager? He's too overwhelmed by emotion to.
What I was going to address is just yet another thank you, but to everybody for dealing with my reading of these comments throughout the. I do better with rehearsal. Sight reading is not my skill set. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And with that, bring it back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
Chair Gully, aye. Councilor McEwen.
Aye.
Councilor Danforth.
Aye.
Councilor Prey. Aye. Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier. Order passes 7-0. Congratulations, Counselor Danforth. I'm sure you're very relieved after all that work. And Counselor McEwen, if I could ever read order number 103, 2022, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 103-2022, providing for approval to expend ARPA funds. Whereas the current preliminary FY23 budget estimates the Iron Bridge Road Culvert project to cost $345,000. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves using $150,000 of the ARPA funds towards the Iron Bridge Road Culvert project. Note, this will leave $74,800 uncommitted to ARPA funds after this order is approved. $224,800 of ARPA funds were received in FY22.
Second.
Motion by Counselor McEwen, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Counselor Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion to amend order number 103-2022 to read, providing for approval to expend unassigned fund balance funds as the current preliminary FY23 budget estimates the Iron Bridge Road culvert cost $345,000. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves using $150,000 of the unassigned fund balance towards the Iron Bridge Road culvert project.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Bragdon, seconded by Counselor Danforth. Discussion of the council. Counselor Bray.
I was going to move that we split the difference and do 75 and 75. We cannot replace, we cannot use ARPA funds to replace funds. That would have left $149,800 left available for the current year's ARPA funds. And of course, we got an additional year thereafter. And I'm not necessarily opposed to, I think the project needs to be done. I think we're all in agreement with that and need to pay for it. And we have it. We've committed money to the school, which will come back to us. Revenues are coming in from, well, the state revenue sharing money and education money is coming in over what was earlier estimated because of the percentage of revenues that are shared with communities now. We also had a report that tax revenues on the properties are down. So I'm not sure where all this money we've been moving lately to keep the school going and other things, where that leaves the unfunded balance. I think we're safe within probably the 150 or the 75 that I was going to propose. But I was just wondering if anybody would be interested in splitting the use of that instead of using all of it out of the undedicated reserve account to splitting it with the ARPA funds and to 75. So in the discussion, I would just like to have some feedback as to, is there an amendable number out there? Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Bray. Counselor McEwen.
I've actually done quite a bit of thinking on this myself, and as some fellow colleagues approached me on this matter earlier this evening, I was quite undecided, but I think it really makes sense to just do the full transfer from the unassigned fund balance at this time. We have much longer of a threshold of time to designate those ARPA funds, where that is what the unassigned fund balance is for. It is our rainy day fund. It is our safety fund. It's our emergency fund. Granted, this will affect some projections of the budget already made. But I'm in agreement with Councilor Danforth, Councilor Bragdon on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor McEwen. Any other council comment on the amendment? I would just say that I'm in agreement as well. I think this is exactly what the fund balance is meant for. I think we need to continue being creative with what little money that we have gotten from ARPA and make it go as far as we can. And given that it has more time for us to designate those funds, we can both respond to this bridge issue immediately while also taking a longer approach to ensuring that we're addressing some much larger social, economic, and mental health issues in the community. So I appreciate that motion, Councilor Bragdon, and I agree with it. Any other discussion or council comment? Is that your hand up right now, Matt?
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's in response to Councillor Price. As I stated earlier this evening, I think we should try a little bit harder on reaching out to the public and find out what exactly we want to use this ARPA money for. Again, I know we've tried. I just don't feel like we've tried hard enough. You know, Mr. Foster was here tonight presenting, as Councillor Danforth mentioned earlier. I think it would be advantageous of us to reach out and say, hey, we really need you guys' input. How do you want this money to be used? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bragdon. And on that point, I was going to mention, I forgot, a survey was just put out to the Tri-Town community, most of which the responses were from our own. But that was assessing what some of the needs of the community are. There are some pretty significant needs in terms of activity programs that we may not be able to fund in its entirety or especially ongoing, but perhaps the infrastructure for it could be built. You know, and like I said, it could be used as a match for other things. We have time to figure this out. So perhaps we should look at surveys that we've already done with the Economic Development Committee, with the survey that I just referenced, and others. And even the Gazetteer. There's plenty of documents out there that we can pull from, MEH friendly, of course, not to leave that one out. Any other council comment? Councilor Prey?
Mr. Chairman, you referenced the survey we did. How many people responded?
I think it was 100 and
100 out of
60.
4,114 people. Obviously, we reduced it. Let's say half of it's the senior population, or half of it is adult age, which is, it's more than, because we're over average age. So basically 100 people out of 3,000 responded.
Is there an issue with pulling information from a survey?
Well, I think using that as what and I kind of agree with Councilor Bragdon, that we really need to get the public involved as to what they want and what they need. And I appreciate all the concerns, but I'm looking at the state is putting money into many of these programs. The county's putting money into these programs. The state's getting opioid funds, 20 million, that's going to add into their federal ARPA funds. County's got 20 some million. Bangor has 20, the county has 29.5 million. Bangor's got 20.4 million. And most of those services come out of Bangor, or they're centrally located in the Bangor, and they're going to get some funding at that level. I don't know yet how we're going to address and solve a lot of those issues at the local level. We don't have a Department of Mental Health. We don't have a Department of Drug Rehabilitation. We have operations going on, and I have funded some of them, and I'm willing to help, and I'm willing to use some of this funds, but I don't know where we're going to end up utilizing all of that money. I don't think it's enough to address all the problems. And my biggest concern in reference to using ARPA funds for not a program or something that goes on ongoing is after the ARPA funds, it's coming back to the taxpayers. And the taxpayers have, for the last 10 to 14, 15, 20 years, have really taken it on the chin. Not just the well-to-do people of Millinocket that can afford this. And we've had some of them, and some of them advocating these types of programs and stuff. But we've had a lot of middle and lower income people that are getting hit hard at the property tax level, and they might not need these other programs. A lot of them do, some of them do. But how are we going to balance that out to those people who we've had the highest mill rate in the state for half a decade or longer? I wrote the better. You have a fresh set next time. I mean, my concern is we're kind of doing this without looking at the whole picture. And I get a little nervous about doing it partially. And I understand where we're going, but there's some of the things we can't spend money on later that we need to do too. This is the immediate situation. I have no problem with taking it all out of the unfunded balance. But I think we need to really think about whether or not all of this ARPA funds are going to be the solution to everything without trying to address. And technically, we're not supposed to use ARPA funds to reduce tax rates. So if we use the unfunded balance for something that could be funded by the ARPA funds, and we can't do it, we can't go back and do it later.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Any other comment on the motion? Seeing none out of the public?
but here. Susan D'Alessandro says, I agree with Counselor Bragdon, Counselor McEwen, Counselor Gottlieb. Britton Bruder asks the question, was an RFP aimed towards the community members put on the town website for ARPA funds received? No, the answer to that is no, that has not happened. 167 responses, apologies, 165 responses. Susan D'Alessandro. I disagree with Councilor Frey. The problem continues to be that whatever the state, county has done, whatever the state, county has does not trickle up here. There are needs in the wings that are not short-term plans. Plus, ask MRH about what they are dealing with. Ask the police department. I have a recommendation for the public comment versus chat box in Zoom moving forward. I recommend that those leaving public comment in the chat speak their public comments if they are able, and that if it is a chat conversation, it not be read its entirety by someone else, unless it is presented, name, address, just like in person.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I agree with that. Seems the rest of the council concurs. Diana?
I just want to say, I believe that's already in our policy. I think you started reading them during the whole COVID year just for courtesy, but it's not necessary.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, back to the council. Those in favor on the amended motion. Councilor Pelletier.
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Councilor Prey. Councilor Danforth.
Aye.
Councilor McEwen.
Aye.
Chair Gottlieb, aye. Councilor Madore.
Nay.
Councilor Prey. There's a lot of anticipation.
I left you all spare batteries next to you.
Oh, God. Nay.
All right, the amendment passed 5-2. Any further discussion on the council on the amended order? Councilor Madore.
I just want to remind everybody out there that when you're using these funds, and sometimes when you have money, you set a cap for the unassigned fund balance so that any monies over and above the undesignated fund balance could be hopefully used to offset the mill rate at the time when the budget comes through. That was the original intent. Now, whether that's still the intent, I don't know, but that was the original intent. The other part of that is we earlier discussed other things happening within the community that could affect the mill rate, the taxes, what people have to pay in their homes. And when you get an opportunity to do an infrastructure project like this and the funds, we sat here not very long ago and I brought up the point of a $345,000 parking lot being done, and we fronted the money for that with the idea, well, it's free money to get infrastructure done. And the argument was made, oh yeah, that's absolutely right. We need to go ahead and take the money while we can to get infrastructure done. Now we have an opportunity to use some money that comes to the community to take care of an infrastructure problem that is in dire need. And it's basically shouted down in a very civil tone. it astounds me, and I just don't know where this is all going, but I know that a lot of what is on the unassigned fund balance is supposedly supposed to be for anything over for tax relief for the people in this community who are on a fixed income, who are elderly, who are trying to stay in their homes, and trying to go ahead and make Millinocket more age-friendly, not age-friendly, but business-friendly, to have a lower mill rate in the town of Millinocket. And that's not going to be achieved, and it shouldn't be achieved on the backs of the taxpayers. It should be to help the taxpayers, both business and residential. And I just don't understand it, but I do not support using fund balance for this project when other monies are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dorr. Councilor Prey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The undedicated fund balance is to have for an emergency situation, which the auditor suggests is 3 months of what the town budget is. What Councilor Madore referenced was some interest, I'm going to say about 6, 7, 8 years ago, was to, as there was a fair amount of discussion as we went up over the $29 into the $30 and into the $32, $33, $34, was to try to use that revenues, of which we never really ever did. We used it to backfill some budget items each year. When the budget came up, we either put less money back into it. And of course, the couple of biggest increases were over the last, I think, 2 years ago or 3 years ago in the undedicated fund balance. I think we're now utilizing it kind of as a, I don't want to say the word I'm thinking, just kind of as a little piggy bank that we can break open whenever we needed it. And instead of for emergencies, when we needed it for something that was important, but not necessarily an emergency. And that's what we're doing. Here we have an emergency. Fire chief has talked about it. Public Works has talked about it. That bridge is a danger. The danger to the citizens that live in that part of town and the citizens of this part of town that goes over there or drives through there. The school buses that go over through there. And we need to address that. And I think that, like I said, I was going to try to split the baby down the middle type of thing, but I'm still a little leery about even doing that. I just don't think we have a clear picture of where all the money that's been given to the state, back to the citizens and the federal government in this instances of dealing with these funds as to what other entities are doing that impacts the services that we get. And if we had those services being delivered out of Millinocket, it'd be one thing. But like I said, Bangor, 32,000 people got $20.4 million. We're 4,000, so we're about 1/8 of them, and we got 400,000. Doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Councilor Bragdon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank Councilor Prey for his comments because he's absolutely right on that bridge. It's a danger. I personally have not been down and looked inside that tunnel, but now I want to just to understand how bad it is. But I think the biggest point of these funds is being missed. These funds were created for the citizens of Millinocket. Well, in our retrospect, they were created for our citizens to find a way to help them because of the COVID pandemic. These funds weren't created to do whatever we wanted to do with them. It's what the citizens wanted to do with them. And I think that's being missed. You know, we've already had several people come up to the podium and on Zoom say they don't want these monies used for the Iron Bridge Road. And I take that to heart. If they say no, then I don't think we should be doing it. We really need to take into consideration the people that we work for and what they want. And they've obviously said no. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Just a comment on the topic of unassigned fund balance. As Councilor Prey pointed out, it has gone through some evolutions over time and how it's been handled. I think we're at a point now that revenue sharing is an actual real thing that's occurring when it used to really be next to nothing or nothing. Was it nothing or next to nothing? 2%. Okay, so it's been a gradual increase over the past few years to get back to the full 5%. I think it's okay to be in a position, just like we discussed with the tax acquired homes, to redefine the use of surplus revenues that are coming from the state and how the community and the council sees fit in that time. Right now, we're seeing obviously a significant amount more than we ever expected and are trying to figure out exactly how to use it. I don't think this is one of those circumstances where we're trying to figure out how to use it. That fund is for emergencies, as Councilor Prey pointed out. So for this purpose, I see no issue. I think we should still have a larger discussion and renew the conversation on what this unassigned fund balance is, what surplus revenue from the state will be used for generally, have some kind of direction on that. But again, I think it's okay that we're in this period that we're trying to redefine that. And I wouldn't want to prescribe any negativity to the fact that we are doing that. Any other council comment? Out of the public? Seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor of the amended order, Councilor Madore?
Nay.
Chair Goliva, aye. Councilor McEwen?
Aye.
Councilor Danforth?
Aye.
Councilor Prey?
Nay.
Councilor Bragdon?
Aye.
And Councilor Pelletier?
Aye.
The order passes 5-2 as amended. And with that, brings us to reports and communications. Warrant committee for the May 26, 2022 council meeting will be Councilor Danforth and Councilor Madore, if you're both good with that.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Any chair committee reports? There'll be an economic development committee meeting that is posted online. We are going to continue the discussion of short-term rentals, also attracting employees and families to the community and hearing from some employers, larger employers in the region on what they see as being barriers for them, among other things. I will also schedule a sustainability committee in the near future to address the couple of things that the manager brought up, including the tax acquired properties. So we have a recommendation for that. Any other chair committee reports? Councilor Danforth?
I'll just mention there is an age-friendly meeting on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and the agenda and Zoom link is posted on the website. And for those that want to attend in person, it is at the library.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Any other chair committee reports? Seeing none, that brings us to the 2-minute public comment. If anyone from the public wishes to speak and address the council. Diana?
I forgot to include this at the town manager's report. This is an addition as of today. I did receive the absentee ballots for the June 14th primary. Postings are ready to be posted probably tomorrow, but the absentees will be available even though the signs may not be posted. So I just wanted to put that out there to the community that I did receive the ballots and they are ready to be taken out as an absentee request.
Thank you, Diana. Any other public comment? None on chat, Mr. Manager? No. And with that, seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Bragdon. All those in favor, Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Prey, Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Chair Goliva, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
We're adjourned 7-0.
Thank you. Good evening.